Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, I wanted to go over the story from the 2022 Fan Festival event, which was held over 2 days. My first call out is, leave it to Yoko Taro to make a Route A and B for a concert. Day 1 shows us events from what I call Route A, or 2B's perspective. The second day is what I call Route B, which is from 9S's point of view. Now, before I get too much further into the explanation, this event does take place after the beginning of Route C. It also ties into some spoilers from Automata, Replicant, as well as Reincarnation. So this is your warning now to leave if you don't want spoilers. But with that out of the way, this event happens right after A2 killed 2B and the tower emerged. They had a huge cast for this event. The first day's event, we got both actors for the pods, as well as the actors for Emil, A2, 2B, Yona, and finally NieR himself. This is a special story written by Yoko Taro, and since it's a concert too, we also have Janique Nicole, Emmy Evans, and Kocho, which I hope I'm saying that last singer's name right. Now, this is available to purchase on Square Enix's website. If you get a chance, I recommend picking it up. It's a good watch. Honestly, this is probably one of my favorite events to see. I loved some of the interactions between the characters. I'm going to be using more footage from the game than from the show itself because the show isn't really acting out fight scenes. It's more about the script reading. Also, I don't want Square Enix to take this video down. So I'll try to match the certain scenes from the game or the anime as best as I can. With all that said, let's take a look at this story. It's called Amidst the Collapse, 2B's perspective. Like I stated before, this event takes place after the beginning of Route C. During some of the song Crumbling Lies, we see the events of the Logic Virus's timeline, the fall of the bunker, and the annihilation of Yorha. During this intro, we see the text that says, "Herein lies a record that has never been disclosed, a record of sights witnessed by 2B and 9S within a memory. Sights seen as they traveled the world mirrored in absurdity and deceit." The next thing we see is 2B at the moment she entrusts A2 with the future, and A2 kills her. In the next moment, 2B wakes up and doesn't know where she is. She asks Pod to begin scanning, but he's nowhere to be found. The place she's in is spacious and eerily quiet. She is surrounded by city buildings, all in white. Even the sky is described as white. Pod 153 finds 2B. 2B asks where 9S is. Pod has no idea. They were separated. 2B tells Pod to scan for black box signals, but it's impossible because their communication is being jammed. 2B grabs her chest, recalling the feeling of cold steel being plunged into it. She wonders why she's alive. She should be dead. She remembers seeing the stillness in A2's eyes. She also realizes there is no sign of the logic virus in her body. She then asks Pod what the likelihood is that they're in some sort of cyberspace. Pod says it's an extremely low chance. Looking at the world around them, there is a 99% chance this space exists in the material world. Funny thing is, Pod offers to pinch 2B's cheek to confirm if this is real or not. 2B realizes they can't just sit around. They have to keep moving, so she and Pod begin their journey. Despite being caught in the collapse of the city ruins, A2 is still intact. She wakes up in a lot of pain though. Still, A2 gets up on her feet. In true A2 fashion, she asks, "Where the hell am I?" She's in the same predicament, surrounded by buildings that are white. When A2 takes a step forward, a box begins to shine a light. It appears to be a hologram. It's an image of a robot wearing a hat that bows in A2's direction. Then, all of a sudden, machines around her start to wake up. Their speakers blare the same phrase over and over again, as if attempting to brainwash the listener. Without a second's hesitation, A2 goes on the offensive. After she destroys the machines, we hear a familiar song. A2 can hear Emil heading right for her. He pumps the brakes so he doesn't hit A2, but leaves behind a lovely smell of burnt rubber, which she really appreciates. A2 asks Emil what is he doing there. Emil explains that when the tower emerged, he tried to jump across a path, but didn't have enough horsepower to make the jump, and now he's stuck there. A2 decides she's gonna leave the area, and Emil asks if he can tag along. A2 says it makes no difference to her. If he can't keep up, she'll leave him behind anyway. This world they are in is described as a replica, all in white, of a human city. There are tall skyscrapers and even highways. It appears to be uninhabited though, but A2 and Emil begin searching for a way out. A lot of visuals they use were just images of Shinjuku, it looks like. While they're walking, A2 grips her weapon. She points it down an alley and asks, "Alright, the hell are you following us around for?" A girl in white emerges from the alley, clearly terrified that A2 is pointing her sword at her. Emil begs A2 to put her weapon down. A2 has never seen Emil show so much emotion before. She asks Emil if he knows who this kid is, but Emil doesn't know. He explains that because he's multiplied so many times, he's lost a lot of his memories. Emil's gut tells him they cannot hurt this girl though, no matter what. Normally A2 wouldn't believe such a story, but looking at Emil's face, as strange as it looks, A2 somehow sees his yearning for days long past within his gaze. She puts away her weapon and asks the girl for her name. The little girl says her name is Yona. A2 asks her what is she doing here, and Yona explains that she and her brother live in this city. One thing I wanted to point out is that the narrator explains the buildings look almost like pillars of salt, which is never a good thing in this universe. The next thing we see is NieR yelling for Yona. While searching for her, he comes across Pod and 2B. NieR raises his weapon, and 2B begins to raise hers as well. Pod advises that they shouldn't fight. 2B and Pod both agree. There are too many unknowns if they do. They are in an unfamiliar area, and fighting is not recommended. They both lower their weapons. 2B asks him if he's alone. He explains that he has a sister and that they live alone. 2B says they're looking for a way out and asks if he knows of one. He explains that this place is massive and that they've never been able to find any kind of dead end. NieR says he doesn't know how he and his sister got there or how long they've been there. The sun doesn't set, so part of him thinks they've been there for a few days, but he also thinks it could have been a few months. He asks if 2B has seen his sister, and she says no, that he's the first person they've seen. Surprisingly, Pod suggests they go look for Yona. 2B starts to question it, but Pod says, refusing to assist will have no impact on our likelihood of discovering an exit. However, people who have been here longer than us likely possess more information than we do. I'm impressed with Pod right now. NieR agrees that if 2B helps him find Yona, he'll help with whatever information he has about this place. So 2B agrees, and they begin their search. 2B asks NieR if all he's doing is looking for his sister, then why does he have a weapon? He explains that there are enemies in this place that tend to pop up. 2B has a feeling that she and Pod aren't welcome in this place, but they continue onward. All of a sudden, there's a sound of groaning iron, a sound that rejects invaders. Then, from the shadows, fangs appear to tear 2B's group to shreds. What emerges are machine lifeforms shaped like animals. These machines surround them. 2B enters close combat mode, with the slightest hint of a smile on her face, as though fighting is her very reason for living. 2B and NieR are able to defeat the machine lifeforms. NieR thinks that they're defensive robots. 2B explains they're not. They're machine lifeforms, independent combat units manufactured for the purpose of invasion. NieR is shocked that 2B knows what they are, but 2B is confused as to why he doesn't. There shouldn't be anywhere on Earth without machine lifeforms. NieR explains he had never seen them before he came to this place. He's also confused by what 2B is talking about. Invasion, machines for war. 2B explains the war between humanity and the aliens and the machines. NieR thinks 2B is talking about some movie. NieR asks what year it is. 2B explains that it is 11,945. It has been 6,933 years since the aliens invaded. NieR explains that he is from the year 2053. The scene now moves back to Yona trying to sing that tune that Emil was humming earlier. Emil helps her learn the melody, and as if to destroy the tranquil mood, a nearby building suddenly comes crashing down. Then we hear A2 yelling at the pile of rubble that used to be a building, because, of course, she got herself covered in dust. Emil tells her to stop smashing random buildings. It'll only wear her out. She responds, "Sure as hell beats a leisurely search. You could stand to fire off a missile or two of your own, you know." Emil replies, "Yeah, right. Like I've got missiles installed." This was honestly one of my favorite moments. I wish we got more interaction between these two, either in the game or the anime. Although, no complaints here, A2 and Pascal's moments in the anime were gold. Anyway, Yona begins to cough, and A2 immediately apologizes, thinking she kicked up too much smoke. She tells Yona she'll stop, but Yona tells her it's okay. Sometimes she just gets a cough, and she's always been like this. so A2 doesn't need to worry. Emil suggests they go back to Yona's brother instead of continuing onward, but Yona explains that her brother is always taking care of food for her and barely eats because he wants her to have enough. This time, she wants to help him instead. A2 looks into Yona's eyes and sees the girl's pure love and honest devotion for her brother. She lowers her sword, turns away, and brushes the white powder off herself, making sure none of it flies in Yona's direction. Aww, that is so cute. Yona then asks Emil and A2 if they have people waiting for them at home, and if that's why they're trying to get back. And suddenly, things get heavy. A2 says, I wonder about that. She starts remembering the friends that she lost. Abandoned by her home on the moon, she can't go back. Or, maybe, she never had a home to return to in the first place. Emil says he doesn't know if anyone's waiting for him either. He knows that he has important memories, but he can't remember them all. Yona, being the sweetheart she is, tells Emil he should come live with her and her brother. She extends the same invite to A2. Emil thanks her, but says he wants to keep searching for whatever it is that's so important to him, even if it means being alone for a really long time. That's why he needs to leave this city. Then Yona turns to A2 and asks, what about you, A2? A2 thinks back to her final moments with 2B, to the resolve burning in 2B's red eyes. And she tells Yona, even if I got nowhere to go back to, I still have to carry out someone's wish. Emil suddenly notices, buried in the rubble in front of them, a small box. A2 pulls it out. Emil asks, isn't that 2B's pod? A2 says she feels like she's seen it before. Yona offers to go find batteries for it, but Emil has another idea. He says the best way to handle a situation like this is, and then he winds up and yells, Bruh, you're a truck. I don't want to know what an Emil chop looks like. And he did this to a pod? Emil, that's how you kill people. Then they hear a beeping sound from the pod, followed by one of the funniest references in this entire concert. Since the voice actor for Pod 042 is also Grimoire Weiss, he makes a throwback.
For the love of all that is holy, would you please stop pounding me?
My very name brings kingdoms to their knees. Then he breaks character. Negative. This unit Pod 042, which brings no one to their knees. The pod then slowly floats in the air, but very wobbly, like a baby bird trying to fly. A2 says, I think something's up with this thing. Emil is somehow shocked that his Emil chop didn't work. Yona offers the pod a cookie, but the poor pod is still glitching between Grimoire Weiss and his usual voice. A2, now officially over it, yells, get it together already, and punches the pod. It hits the ground with a dull thud and goes silent. God, you cannot leave Emil or A2 in charge of anything. This is how you break stuff, people. Emil starts yelling at A2 for making things worse. A2 responds, if it's not gonna work, it's just scrap anyway. Then, Pod miraculously begins to beep again. It's alive. Pod explains that after he and 2B got separated, when the tower emerged, he accessed information about the city, but was attacked by a defensive barrier, which shorted his circuits. A2 asks how he accessed the information and what this place even is. Pod explains that this space is likely a replica of Human City, copied by machine lifeforms. He says it's data storage facility modeled after a brain. Emil asks what they'd store here, and Pod says the entirety of human history. He also mentions he found 9S's consciousness data saved here too. A2 figures 9S must have been the kid who came charging at her after she killed 2B. She asks Pod if he found a way out. Pod says no, but theorizes that since this is a storage facility, there's likely a control device somewhere. Emil suggests if they can find that, they might find a way out. A2 points out, that's easier said than done. They have no clue where it is. Yona, once again being adorable, raises her hand and says she doesn't understand anything being said. Emil tries to explain to her. She still doesn't get it, but tells him there is a building she saw that was different from the rest. It had a warm glow, but NieR told her to stay away from it, so she leads the group there. As they continue on, the scenery shifts. They begin to witness the world falling into ruin, like walking through someone's memories. Text on the screen explains that the machine lifeforms begin appearing before A2 and the others. Then we get flashbacks to NieR Replicant. There's a short scene with dialogue between Yona, Emil, and NieR. NieR reflects on some of the choices he's made, and the regrets he carries. A2 and Pod continue fighting off the machines, but they're struggling. Right now they've just been holding the line. A2 refuses to give up. She won't die here. Even though she's exhausted and drops to her knees, she's still not backing down. Then, more machines appear, forming a mass with the face of a giant beast. It bares its fangs at the group, until an explosion interrupts it. We hear 2B's voice call out, telling A2 to get back up. This battle isn't over. A2 is shocked to see her. 2B and A2 fight together, joined by the pods and NieR. Now the group has the upper hand, and the machines are quickly reduced to scrap. Yona and NieR reunite. 2B asks Emil how he got there, and while Emil starts to explain it, they are interrupted by A2 drawing her sword. She asks, "What are you doing here, 2B?" Yona, understandably confused, asks, "Why are they fighting?" A2 explains that 2B shouldn't exist. The very fact that she is here is wrong. NieR asks if they are friends, and A2 replies, "That's not the problem. I killed you. You're Unit 2B, yet here you are, very much not dead." Which, let's be honest, is the most normal reaction any sane person would have. Suddenly, a light streaks through the sky. Pod 042 fires an energy round and destroys Pod 153. A2 immediately goes to attack Pod 042. If it's infected, she needs to stop it before the infection spreads. But Pod 042 floats up and out of reach. He explains that he made 194 requests for inter-pod communication, all denied. Also, Pod 153 was showing signs of machine lifeform protocol signals, so disposal was carried out. A2 doesn't believe him, but then Pod 153 powers back up. Despite the damage, it somehow begins to float. Then a strange godlike voice begins to speak. Its visage is unto the very gods. The gods, if they're truly gods, how would they explain your plight? Incredible to think all of you would end up in the same place at the same time. 2B asks, "Who are you?" The voice answers, "Such a definition would be exceedingly challenging. We are an informative concept that bears no form, an electronically constructed being." Pod 042 clarifies, "It is a network intelligence, a conceptual existence born from a new network created by machine life forms." NieR asks if she is the one who brought him and Yona here. The voice explains they didn't summon anyone. This city is constructed from memories, a reflection of what is, complete with desires and distortions. Emil, not having it, yells for her to take them back. She responds that it isn't that simple. A2 responds the way A2 always does, by attacking, and says, "Then die." In its final message, the voice says, "Come to the place of prayer, then perhaps your future will," and shuts down. The group tries to interpret what that means. A2 sums it up with, "Now we've got talk of gods on top of everything else? What a load of bull." Which, mood. NieR points out it must be talking about a church. Yona and NieR mention they've seen one, but the problem is, it's surrounded by enemies. Pod thinks the church might house the data storage facility control device. It may even lead to Yorha Unit 9S's consciousness data. Of course, 2B asks if 9S is there. Pod explains it's only his consciousness data, not the actual 9S. 2B says they need to retrieve it. She then turns to A2 and says, "Please, A2, once this is over, you can do whatever you want to me. But right now, please help me." Emil and Yona join in and start peer pressuring A2 to help. A2, in classic A2 fashion, reluctantly agrees. Before they set out, A2 and 2B speak alone. A2 tells her, "Don't do anything funny, 2B. I don't want to kill you for a second time." 2B responds, "Understood, A2. I hear you loud and clear." They begin encountering enemies. With her back entrusted to A2, 2B can feel it. The machine lifeform screams. The sensation of sliding steel through them. There's a dark joy in it all. Eventually, they reach the church. And I have to say, Yoko Taro really does love ending his shows in a church lately. First this one, then End of Data. Inside, they see the data of the human history laid out before them. They see NieR and Yona's home, and learn the truth about Project Gestalt. The siblings are replicants. NieR and Yona realize they are not real, nor is the city. 2B realizes that must mean she isn't real either. Pod confirms it. The only beings who exist outside of this space are himself A2, and Emil. He starts to explain that 2B and the siblings are, but A2 cuts him off. Don't say it. Just don't. We get it. Then the city starts to collapse. Pod scans the area and determines they are deep beneath the city ruins. There's a 99% chance they'll be caught in the collapse before they can escape. His recommendation, they must transfer their data to their physical bodies on the surface. It's a better chance than trying to physically escape. But here's the kicker. Pod can't transfer the imitations. He also reveals that 2B's body on the surface has already been destroyed, so uploading her is impossible. A2, naturally, says they won't know unless they try, and tells Pod to do it. But NieR stops her. He says it's alright. He apologizes to Yona, says that if he had been stronger, he could have protected her. Yona tells him it's okay. As long as she's with him, she's not scared. Then Emil, legend that he is, says he has a plan. Since he's gone through so many clone versions, he thinks he can take all 3 of them up. Pod says that's impossible. Emil doesn't care. He doesn't know what'll happen, but he has to try. He was meant for this. He also says he's going to try to save 2B. He tells her, "Don't let go of my hand." NieR and Yona say if this city is made of their memories, they should be able to create their own exit. A2 replies, "Sounds like we've got a plan. To summarize, we're basically gonna find a way to force it." Pod says, "Negative," and A2 claps back with a, "Would it kill you to play along for once?" Still love her and Pod's dynamic. 2B asks Pod about 9S's consciousness data, and he's already started to search for it. A2 asks if he thinks he'll find it. Pod isn't sure, but it must be found. 2B thanks Pod and asks him, A2, and Emil to take care of 9S. A2 agrees. Pod, ever the realist, says promises are meaningless. They won't remember this. 2B says, "A2, find a way to force it." A2 replies, "Easier for you to say." "Well, I'll figure something out." Pod begins the transfer. 2B says, "Live, 9S. Not for the world, but for yourself." As the ruins collapse, Pod starts uploading everyone. 2B notices something. Her virus is reactivating. She can't go with Emil. Her eyes turn red. Her body starts trembling. She has one last thing she must do. 2B says she will save 9S no matter what. The infection spreads through 2B's consciousness. She starts to pray. She starts to scream. And what makes this moment absolutely crushing is the fact that Weight of the World is playing. Within a crumbling memory, she bids farewell to 9S's consciousness data. "I did feel a little lonely, but now my heart is filled with such warm light. Thank you, 9. And with that, we end what I call Route A, or the first day of the festival. Now, let's go ahead and start Route B, Day 2, from 9S's point of view. Amidst the collapse, 9S perspective. Now this one opens up the same way. We see flashbacks from Route C when the bunker falls. Then we cut to 9S running to find 2B. He reaches the bridge only to discover she's been killed by A2. And then the tower emerges. Just like before, but this time, after the flashbacks are done, we focus on 9S. He wakes up in a city completely robbed of color. It's nothing but white buildings as far as the eye can see. 9S comes across Pod 042. He asks Pod to scan for 2B, but it's impossible in this area. Pod recommends that 9S take a moment to basically chill and recover from that fall. But of course, he won't. All that's on his mind is the blood on 2B's sword and the last thing she said to him.
Nice.
Now, let's skip ahead a bit, since a lot of this is the same dialogue we saw earlier. While Emil and A2 are trying to find an exit, A2 suddenly grabs her weapon and points it down an alley. A2 asks, "Alright, the hell are you following us around for?" This time, a bundle of white cloth suspended in mid-air floats out from the alley. It's Mama! And I've gotta say, I really like the actress who played Mama. She put on a great show during this event. Mama tells A2, "Wipe that sour look off your face. Mama's not your enemy." A2 doesn't drop her weapon. It stays locked on Mama. A2 points out it doesn't seem like a machine life form. Emil agrees, but adds that it is spooky. She looks like a ghost. Mama, clearly unbothered, says he's the one who looks odd. Emil did not appreciate that comment. A2 warns Mama not to make a single move she doesn't like, or she'll cut her down. Then A2 asks, "Also, what's with the Mama crap? Whose mom are you supposed to be?" Mama replies, "Everyone's. I'm everyone's Mama." Emil jumps in, hyping A2 up like a bad influence. Mess her up, A2. Even if she's not a machine, she's definitely up to no good. I about died laughing when I saw Emil encourage A2 to destroy Mama. Mama insists she's not up to anything shady, and she'll even put her hands in the air. She then starts to do circles while saying Mama 3 times, which I didn't really get the reference, but I still laugh because A2's response was, "Have you no shame? Shit." Mama just shrugs it off and says she'll do whatever it takes to stay alive. A2 lowers her blade. She asks if Mama has a name. Mama tells her just call her Mama. She explains that she doesn't live here, but has come a long way to serve as their guide. Then we see 9S again continuing his mission to find 2B. He comes across what looks like an old supermarket. This building stands out from the towering skyscrapers around it, but 9S doesn't care and immediately loses interest. He's on a mission. As he pushes forward, 9S wonders what would 2B do in this situation. He admits he's lost without her, but then a black mass appears before him. It moves like it's in agony, creeping closer to 9S. Pod notes that it's not a machine life form. The black mass twists and bends, then assumes a human form. He's bigger than 9S, and his eyes shimmer with a golden glint. Without hesitation, 9S attacks. But the attack doesn't land. Not because the figure dodged it, but because he moved like he was never really there in the first place. Then we hear a voice ask, "Who are you?" Yep, it's the Shadowlord from NieR Replicant. 9S swings his sword again, misses. The Shadowlord looks around, confused, asking, "Where am I? How did I?" And 9S is getting tired of this guy's cryptic energy. The Shadowlord pleads, "Please, tell me everything you know." Then he reaches out and grabs 9S by the head. Pod detects something attacking 9S thought circuitry. The Shadowlord begins rifling through his memories, specifically the ones that are most precious to 9S. And just like in the game, 9S yells, "Don't touch those!" He knocks the Shadowlord's hand aside and starts swinging his sword in a frenzy. This time, he finally lands a hit. The Shadowlord mutters, "It hurts," and 9S shouts that he'll kill him. The Shadowlord then says, "To lose someone precious." 9S shuts him down immediately. He doesn't want to hear it. 9S says, "Don't talk about my memories." But the Shadowlord goes on, "Yes, I know this pain well. I also lost someone. Someone I cherish more than the whole world." For a moment, you see it. A flash of sadness in those golden eyes, before it's overtaken by rage. Then he says the line that stings every NieR fan. "Yona, if you're not in this world, then it might as well not exist." A roar echoes through the empty city. Pod jumps in with a shock blast. It doesn't do much, but it gives 9S just enough time to retrieve his blade. The Shadowlord is tearing the area apart. There's no escape. The only option is for 9S to brace himself as rubble crashes down. 9S loses consciousness. When he wakes, pain pulses through his body. The city around him has twisted into a nightmare. Buildings now float in midair. Massive fissures split the ground, and a pit of abyssal nothingness gapes before him. The Shadowlord appears once more, now wielding a sword made of machine parts. Tears stream down his face, not tears of sadness or rage, but of a 1,000-year curse. 9S attacks again and again, but each strike only makes the Shadowlord regenerate stronger than before. 9S doesn't even know why he's fighting anymore. There's no logic, no strategy, only the all-consuming desire to kill the man standing before him. Pod informs him that the Shadowlord's regeneration far outpaces their attacks. No matter what they do, the Shadowlord won't stop. He's fueled by pure hatred and will destroy everything around him. So, 9S makes a new plan. Hacking. Communication is jammed. He can't use the network, but if he gets close enough, he can make a direct connection. So that's exactly what he does. 9S hacks into the Shadowlord and falls into the abyss of his mind. There, he finds something familiar, that same old supermarket from earlier. Inside, 9S discovers a light. When he touches it, a flood of memories overwhelms him. He sees the time when humans still walked the earth, cities untouched by ruins, families, a little sister named Yona, and a disease spreading through the population. He sees solitude stretching over the millennium, and then it hits him. The Shadowlord isn't an android or a machine. He's a tragedy wrought by humanity and an age long since past. 9S realizes the truth of this place. Then the scene transitions back to A2 and the others. Just like last time, A2 is out there leveling the buildings like a one-woman demolition crew, trying to carve out an escape path. There's a bit of a conversation going on. Mostly the others are trying to get A2 to maybe chill and stop destroying everything in sight. A2 questions why Mama is even with them. What's the point of her? She's a terrible guide. Mama, in peak dramatic fashion, replies, "Patience, child. Mama's time in the spotlight will arrive soon enough." Emil, ever the realist, follows up with, "Will it though?" Mama pushes forward anyway. In any case, let's all work together. You two want to get back to where you came from, yes? A2 responds, "Well, I don't know about that." She starts to recall the faces of her companions she lost 4 years ago, reminded that she doesn't have a place to return to. Emil chimes in saying he still has to go back to find his memories. A2 also remembers the promise she made to 2B. Then once again, they stumble upon a box in the rubble. A2 drags it out, and it's 9S's pod. Mama, clearly having priority issues, asks, "Won't this make me less, special?" "Really, Mama? That's your concern?" A2, not having it, replies, "This is hardly the issue here." Emil tries to wake up the pod, and A2 is already ready to leave it behind, but Emil insists they can't just leave it. He says he'll fix it himself. Mama starts praising him, but before she can even finish her sentence, we hear Emil wind up and yell,
修理ができるの？意外と器用なの。ニールチョップ！
Mama is understandably horrified by his enthusiastic repair technique. They hear a beeping sound from the pod. A2 notes, "Well, it turned on, but the thing's totally busted now." The pod begins to float, although it looks more like a baby bird trying to fly for the first time. Not exactly graceful. It just keeps repeating, "Error, error." A2's had enough. Then, in what is described as a magnificent roundhouse kick, A2 sends the pod flying. This is why we can't have nice things. After it smashes into the ground, Emil tells A2 she's gonna break it that way. A2 fires back, "You're the one who laid hands on the thing in the first place." Honestly, same A2. Mama echoes what I was thinking. May the poor thing rest in peace. But then they hear more beeping. It's somehow alive. The pod managed to reboot and is now active again. Emil asks why the pod is even down here. It explains that it's been searching for 9S's consciousness data. Mama asks, "So you came with a purpose then? Can I take that to mean you know what this place is?" The pod confirms, explaining that this is a cyberspace created within an underground server. It's modeled after a human city. A2 says, "Well, that explains why they haven't found an exit." Emil asks if the pod knows of a way out. It confirms it does, but it won't leave until it finds 9S's consciousness data. A2 questions why they should even bother. There's no bunker anymore. No reason to keep helping Yorha. The pod replies, negative. It explains that it's Yorha's tactical support unit. Whatever happens to command or the bunker doesn't affect its purpose. Saving 9S is part of its individuality. Mama sums it up as, so, in simpler terms, you're saving him because you want to. The pod confirms that, and she tells them that if they help find 9S, she will guide them to the escape port. A2 mutters, "Not like you're giving us much of a choice." Mama, on the other hand, is thrilled the pod will help. But Pod has a question of its own. It asks Mama, "Why do you rejoice?" Mama, being confused, "Pardon?" The pod points out that Mama has been engaging in secured communication with the server. Therefore, she should already know that this is a cyberspace within a server. Emil raises the obvious issue. Mama didn't share this little tidbit with them earlier. The pod continues, the escape port's location isn't even hidden. Anyone authorized to access the data on this server could provide that info instantly. So then Pod asks, "Why did you withhold this information?" Mama notices A2 has a hand on her weapon's hilt. She slowly opens her mouth and admits, "Alright, you got me. I knew about the escape port all along. There's just someone I want to take you to first." A2 narrows her eyes. "And who would that be?" Mama explains, "The person who created this cast world. I want you to meet with him and save him from his endless solitude." Then the world around them starts to change. The entire place begins to fall into ruins, like a crumbling memory from someone's past. We see glimpses of the Shadowlord's memories. his desperate desire to protect his sister, how he was lied to and betrayed, and how all he wants now is to destroy the world. With cursed fangs and a broken heart, the man seeks revenge. Shadows begin attacking A2 and the others. He creates countless clones of himself. Then Pod detects a colossal lifeform underground. A massive shadow bursts from the earth. A2 wonders if this is its true form. Mama volunteers to access it and asks the others to hold it off while she works. She tries to analyze it, but it's blocked by a defensive barrier. Pod joins in to help, but they quickly realize the enemy can't be attacked from the inside or the outside. The group is effectively trapped. A2 tells Emil to get everyone out of here while she tries to figure something out. She slashes away at the shadows just to clear a path, but they just keep multiplying. She even considers self-destructing, but thankfully tosses that idea right out of her head. And then all of a sudden, NieR appears. He laughs when he sees A2. How lucky I must be, finding you. It's time for you to die. You might want to dial that down a bit, buddy. Emil jumps in yelling at NieR to stop. NieR threatens him. I'll kill you if you get in my way. Pod tries to be the voice of reason. Cease combat with Unit A2. Join forces instead. Emil agrees. This isn't the time for us to be fighting each other. Pod adds that more hostile lifeforms will make contact with the group in 98 seconds. The shadows continue rampaging, destroying everything in its path. A2 tells everyone to hide in a building, but Mama warns that the building is about to be destroyed too. NieR asks, "What the hell are you?" Mama just yells back, "I'm Mama!" The pods begin intercommunication with Mama, sharing data with one another on how they can escape. Then Mama turns to the group and asks them to open their data ports. She'll share the plan with everybody directly. Emil starts singing his little tune. It gets amplified to the max and echoes across the battlefield. The pod then unloads their firepower at the shadows. A2 notes that if they can attack it faster than it can regenerate, they can destroy it. Simple in theory. A2 shouts, "Hey, you can kill me later, but give me a hand for now." NieR snaps back, "Who died and put you in charge?" And all I could think of was, 2B literally died and put her in charge. Anyway, NieR begrudgingly jumps in and keeps swinging his sword at the shadows. He says he has to. He needs to see 2B again. A2 and NieR team up, fighting off the shadow after shadow until only one remains. A2 turns to Emil for help, but it looks like he's overheated. Then, the last shadow lets out a roar, but the sound warps into a voice. It asks, "Why?" NieR responds, "You've lost something too, didn't you? Something you wanted to protect." The shadow cries out, "Lost? No, she was stolen from me. They promised that if I gave them my body, they would save Yona." A2 and the others are brought to their knees as the shadow swells with power. Mama asks if there's any hope left to defeat it. Pod 153 proposes turning itself into a logic bomb. NieR immediately rejects that plan. Then Pod 042 steps up, saying he will self-destruct instead. He begins a countdown. A2 yells at him to stop, but Pod denies her request. He's a tactical support unit assigned to 2B. Neither A2 nor NieR have authority to override his decision. He prepares to detonate. A2 screams at everyone to take cover and forces NieR's head down as Pod rockets towards the shadow. He has someone he wants to protect. Then suddenly, the sound of the sword slicing through shadows, and a voice cuts through the chaos. As an authorized user of the corresponding tactical support unit, I request its self-destruct sequence be aborted. It's 2B. She turns to the pod and says, "You've done well, Pod. Thank you." A2 stares in shock. What is she doing here? NieR, of course, is just happy to see her. 2B says it's time to end this. She lunges at the shadow, her striking, destroying the swollen monstrosity in an instant, leaving behind a single shadow, the size of a small child. The shadow murmurs, "I'll make them pay. Humanity, the whole world." 2B replies, "Fine by me, but it's time to sleep now, for you and me both." Then she thrusts her sword into it. The shadow fades away. NieR, overwhelmed, asks if it's really her, or if he's just dreaming. 2B tells him she's glad he's safe. But before anyone can enjoy this reunion, the ground rumbles. A2 says, "I don't think it's time to celebrate just yet." Pod warns the entire space is beginning to collapse. A2 shouts at Emil, "Hey, do you feel like waking up yet?" He stirs, groggily says, "Good morning." Mama thanks everyone. They save that poor soul. After being trapped by his curse for so long, he can finally rest. Pod suggests it's time to get the hell out of there. Mama leads them to the exit, and now that 9S has reunited with 2B, he has hope for the future again, even if it's a lie. The group finally makes it to the church, just like we saw at the end of 2B's perspective. 9S starts reflecting on humanity's history. Maybe this is what an eternity's worth of sin and punishment looks like. Amidst the falling dust and debris, 2B damns herself. She curses her fate of being created solely to kill, even though she knows it's already too late. They're trying to open this massive door that serves as their escape route. Then suddenly, golden eyes glint from the shadows at 2B's feet. The man they thought they defeated claws his way out from beneath her, trying to reclaim his human form. 9S, A2, and the pods all prepare to strike, but Mama floats in front of them. She calmly tells everyone to lower their weapons. It's okay, Mama says. This child will not fight anymore. A soul meant to have found rest is just a little bit lost, is all. She looks at the shadow and asks gently, "You've forgotten how to get home, haven't you? You've been away for an awful long time." Then she says, "It's okay. I'll take you home. Let's open that door and send these nice people home as well." The shadow transforms into a young child. Its eyes no longer reflect anger, hatred, or sadness. Instead, they shine with a faint, innocent light. We hear it whisper, "Oh, I see. Yona, you've been right there, all along." The door opens. Pod explains that given the time left, only their consciousness data can be transmitted. Mama confirms it and says they'll have to leave the memories they made here behind. 9S tells 2B, "You first," and grabs her hand, trying to take her with him. But 2B gently shakes it off. "I'm sorry, 9S." He doesn't understand why she's apologizing. She begins to explain, she died when the city collapsed. What they're seeing now is just patchwork data fragments gathered from the network. 9S doesn't care. Even if you're just patch data, you're still 2B to me. If he were capable of mourning someone he cherished, he could just say goodbye. But faced with this ghost, this fragment of what he lost, his modest wish swells into something overwhelming. No matter what he says, 2B listens with only a troubled smile. 9S pleads, "It's okay if you don't remember anything once we get out. We'll start over from the beginning, just like you've always done for me. This time, I'll be the one to save you." But 2B explains her body no longer exists. There's nowhere for her data to go. 9S yells, "We don't know unless we try." Then 2B says, "But I want to disappear here. If entering the port means discarding my memories, I'd rather hold on to the time with you," and 9S cuts her off. "You don't think I feel the same?" 9S wants to stay with her. If she's going to disappear, he'll stay by her side to the end. 2B thanks him, but she won't let him stay. She says, "Pod," and just like that, Pod deactivates 9S's movement control routines. "When did you hack my body?" 9S asks. Pod responds that the hack began the moment they reunited. This was done at 2B's request, in case 9S refused to escape. He can't move. He can't even speak. 2B turns to Pod 153 and says, "Look after him. Help 9S." Then she looks at A2 with a smile, and A2, 9S will be a thorn in your side, but try to keep your chin up. A2 groans, "Seriously?" Pod cuts in, as always, with some cold hard truth. Promises are meaningless. Memories made here will not be saved. 2B corrects herself. "Oh, right. In that case, A2, keep your head down and power through." A2 chuckles. "Heh, can do." Okay, this exchange, easily one of the best parts of this entire story. 9S still doesn't give up. He tries to force movement, desperate to reach her, but he can't move, and he can't speak. Tears begin falling from his eyes hidden beneath his visor. 2B gently wipes them away. "This is farewell," she says. Pod initiates the transfer. Mama then leads 2B and the boy outside as the city collapses. There is no sorrow. 2B looks up at the sky, remembering the days of conflict, but then thinks of happier times. "Thank you," she whispers. Just like the last ending, 2B's infection begins to spread across her body, but this time she says goodbye to 9S's consciousness data, and she no longer feels alone. Then, broken up text appears. "Thank you, Nines." There's a bit more to the ending. The voice actresses for Operator 60 and 210 take the stage. They're also inside this strange cyberspace. They come across 2B's consciousness data. Damaged and fading, it will disappear soon along with them. 210 asks what the role of the operator is supposed to be. 60 responds, to support the Yorha units in the field and back up their data. Suddenly, a memory clicks. Before the bunker fell, 60 tried to send 2B's backup to the server on Earth. She's not sure if it went through. 210 suggests combining the broken data with that backup. 60 asks where they should even save it. 210 says that she left an opening on the human server on the moon. And with that, the two of them begin their final act of support for the units entrusted to them. Then we see NieR and 2B on stage, saying they will begin singing the Song of Prayer. And then what was cool was we got to see the song Prayer from NieR Reincarnation play live. And that wraps up the event. With the operators piecing 2B's data back together, it's only a matter of time before we fast forward to ending E of the game, where the pods reassemble the bodies of 2B, NieR, and A2. Out of all the stage plays, concerts, and whatever else has been released for NieR Automata, this story is easily my favorite. I'm still a little on the fence about Memories of Puppets and End of Concert data. If you're curious about those, I did a full breakdown, and I'll link that video below. End of Data will always have a special place in my heart though. Seeing it live with the orchestra hit different, but story-wise, this one was my favorite. I love seeing Emil and A2's interactions. This even also gave us a glimpse of how A2, 2B, and NieR could work together on the same team. And honestly, it's pretty much what I expected. Not exactly friends, but totally capable of getting the job done together. NieR having a basic muzzle installed, yeah, that tracks. I absolutely pictured 2B finally having to muzzle him so she and A2 could have a conversation in peace. Also, another thing I noticed, I think this fan festival revealed early that Mama was a pod, because it wasn't until chapter 3 that she was revealed to be a pod. This fan festival was in 2022, but the reveal that she was a pod wasn't until 2023. So maybe this was a spoiler for some people? What did you all think of the story? Did you like it? Think it was pointless? Do you think it'll matter in the long run? Personally, I doubt it, but I'm still glad it happened. Appreciate all the continued support. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. It helps keep this page going. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!